During my teenage years, I remember going with my parents to pick pecans and pears and blackberries. We had a fig tree in our yard, and I remember my mom waking us up early in the morning on the weekends. On the days that we could sleep late, she would get us up about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and tell us to go get the figs off the tree. She said we had to beat the birds to the tree. If we didn't, then the birds was going to get to that tree and eat all the fruit up. My goodness, we hated that. I remember how we had to pick the fruit and then clean the fruit. And then my mom would put it in this big pot to cook it. She was going to preserve it. If it was pears that she was going to preserve, then they had to be peeled after we cleaned them. They had to be peeled, and then we had to cut them in half and then dig that core out before she could place them in a pot to cook. Then before she would place those figs or those pears in a jar, the jars and the lids had to go through a sterilization process. And then once those figs or pears were placed in a jar, she would have some cut up lemons on the side, and she would take lemon and place in each jar and then cap that jar up. After the cooling process, she would then take each jar very carefully and wipe it down and then place those jars in the cupboard until we were ready to eat those preserves. The other day, I was walking through my home and I wanted me some preserved figs. Of course, I didn't have any, but it triggered a memory. A memory of waking up those days to my mom in the kitchen fixing breakfast. Grits and eggs, sausage or bacon, and homemade biscuits to go with what? You guessed it, those preserves. Now that was some good eating. Did you know that God preserved our lives? He preserves us. He picked us before the foundation of the earth. When we gave our lives to him, he washed us and he cleaned us up. He took out that stony heart and he gave us a heart of flesh. He allows us to go through the tests and the trials of life. He allows the heat and the pressure to be applied to our lives. God preserved our lives because he wants us to be able to tell others of his goodness. He maintains our lives so that when we witness to others about him, they too can taste and see how good the Lord is. I want to encourage you today to share the word of God with someone. Tell about his goodness. Tell them so they can taste and see. Love you. See you soon.